Yes, I'm very proud. I have 3 gavel clubs that I sponsor in prison. This is just a picture real quick of the latest cohort that graduated. So it's a pleasure to be with you all and a pleasure to be introducing our lineup of evaluators to listen to the critique and the talks about these beautiful speeches. Our first evaluator, filling in for Tal, thank you very much, is Toastmaster Tim Taylor. Are you doubt that you have?
No, I'm
Okay.
I thought you were going to say more. I'm sorry.
Just this is your name.
All right. Good morning, Toastmasters. Magdalene, you were a very brave young woman. That was very, very hard to do. I could tell. You were shaking so hard that your paper was doing this. And I'm very proud of you for what you did. Very proud. To get up in a room of people that you barely know and share some of the deepest, darkest secrets of your life is about the hardest thing you can do. I honestly don't know of a harder thing. I had a little bit of a similar background than you, didn't come from another country, wasn't nearly as bad, but it was very difficult when I had to share that here. And when it's your own family members, my father was just a very physically abusive man, and so I had to live through a little bit of that myself. But coming from another country and all the other things you had to go through, I can't even relate, I can't even begin to relate. You did such an excellent job. I loved many of the things you said. You figured once I went through college, all the rest of my life was figured out, it was no problem. Then suddenly you found out you couldn't get into college, but you made the best of it. You worked hard, you became a personal trainer, and all the other things you're doing today. I noticed as you basically told your story, when you let out about what had happened to you, your body language totally changed. You relaxed, and the hard thing was out. And from here on, it will be easier. It will be better, and I'm very proud of you. You did an excellent job. Thank you.
Our next evaluator, evaluating Distinguished Toastmaster Jeff Rufinoff, is Brandon Moore. Let's welcome Brandon Moore.
Thank you, Toastmaster Carlos. And big thanks to Distinguished Toastmaster Jeff Rufinoff. Another awesome, fun speech from Jeff. And I'm honored to evaluate a Distinguished Toastmaster. It's a great opportunity to learn. Jeff, you were on fleek the entire time. You gambled with your Toastmasters, and we enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. It's a little harder to button up than it is to unbutton. You did a great job. Would have liked to see a little more flair with that, though. Blake was barely awake at that point. I think you were putting him to sleep. Maybe I think you needed to wrap a tie around him and play with him a little bit or something. Okay. But yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed it. You were so high energy. I appreciate that opportunity you took to teach me something new, and the challenges of going to sleep, especially as a new father with a baby sleeping in the bed, is a whole nother level. And I'm sure that is something I'd like to try and figure out. Yeah. And the third pillow, it was such a great comment, because that does happen to you. You need that extra pillow. I hope you have receipts for that air mattress, because you're going to start out in the air and you're going to end up on the ground. I don't know if there's a millennial term for that, but there should be. And I think what you did so well was you took an excellent use of complex information and put it into a great flow. I don't know how you do that. I want to learn that. Thank you so much.
Evaluating Jessica Dawson is evaluator number 3, Toastmaster Mark Shear.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and Jessica Dawson. We had an opportunity to speak before your speech today, and you wanted to focus on 2 things. One was not leaning on the lectern, 2, you wanted to gamble the speech. And today, it is my responsibility to provide some constructive feedback on your speech. First of all, what you did well. Your opening was fantastic. You had an opportunity to draw in the audience, grab your cell phones, start recording. If you don't like being on film, let me know. That was fantastic. You're very articulate. You can hear every single syllable when you speak. Your voice inflection is outstanding. Everyone in the back room heard exactly what you were talking about. Your pronunciation and your clarity is pristine. You have a very confident demeanor at the lectern. There's no question about it. Really nice hand gestures, body language is super cool. You started off with excellent eye contact. You started off with excellent eye contact. Areas of improvement. You started off with your speech, fumbling with some of your props. I would get those ready to go when you're ready to deliver. One of the areas that you wanted to improve on was not to lean on the lectern. This is pretty much how you lean on the lectern, okay? It's cool to use the lectern. You can rest on the lectern. You can kind of walk around the lectern. Don't lean on the lectern, because what you're doing when you're leaning on the lectern, you're gathering your thoughts, and you can see that, okay? The use of props. It's cool to use props, but the length of you, when you did that, when you used your cell phone, you left the audience, okay? Use them, but use them successfully. Also use the use of the Queen's language respectfully. Be careful of the language that you choose. You're an excellent speaker. Come back. I want to hear that speech again. Okay? Thank you.
Our final touch of evaluations is distinguished Toastmaster Blake Smith, who will be evaluating Jia Jing. Excuse me. Jia Jing. I practiced that, but it came out wrong.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and Jiaying. It was first time I've had the opportunity to evaluate you. We spoke before the meeting, and she wanted to work on her vocal variety and gestures. We're going to talk about your gestures first, because there was only one. It'll be easy to get that out of the way, and we'll go into the vocal variety. You look like a baker getting ready to knead the dough. This was it, and it was nonstop. So you need to control that. The thing with gestures is they need to reinforce what you're saying. So if something needs some impact, if you want to talk about how your son would not stop speaking English when you wanted him to speak Chinese, you do something like that, but otherwise lay off of it. And I think it's more of a reaction, it's a nervous reaction than anything else. It can be controlled. Let's get on to the speech. You open with a question. How many of you have bilingual kids? Well, you got a few hands up. That was good. You gave us developmental delay, and it was devastating, talking about your child. Well, he wasn't developmentally delayed. He just wasn't speaking the same language, for Pete's sake. Then Cantonese versus Mandarin. Okay, a lot of people in here were thinking, well, aren't they both the same? You know, isn't it both Chinese? What's the difference? Is it like Georgia versus New York? You know, it's the same language, but they don't understand each other. So, but you could say that, you know, Cantonese versus Mandarin. It's like New York. No, they don't understand what's going on in Alabama. Or voice. You Chinese school kids were not gambling. They taught table tennis. They taught badminton. They taught yo-yo. We all the little boys in here are like, yo-yo. I used to play with yo-yos. So, you know, you could get excited about that because your son obviously was. To our surprise, he chose English as a language in school. Now, gamble with us a little bit. When you talk about how he use Chinese to communicate on the phone. We often think, oh my God, they're speaking they're speaking Spanish and they're talking about me. Well, yeah, you're right. We are talking about you. But it was a great speech. I loved it. I wish I had more time to talk. Bye.
Mr. Timer, Toastmaster Lonnie. Did they all qualify?
Virtually all but evaluator 4.
He's a rookie.
Your punishment is that you get to sleep in the bed. No. Will all the 3 evaluators,
Up against the wall, spread.
all those in favor of Toastmaster Tim Taylor, please raise your hand. Anytime now. Evaluator number 2, Brandon Moore, would you raise your hands? Did you get them all? Okay, thank you for the backup. Evaluator number 3, Mark Shear, raise your hand. Would all the evaluators please sit down except for Toastmaster Mark Shear? Good job, attaboy.